Now I'm going to start with one today topic, that is listeners in TestNG. Okay, so we are in TestNG framework, right? We are learning all these things, different scenarios I'm covering in TestNG framework itself. So I already covered some JUnit scenarios also, and later part I started covering the TestNG concepts and everything, because most of the scenarios we can implement with the support of TestNG framework. Okay, so today you are going to learn about the listeners concept from TestNG, how this is going to be helpful when you are working on automation environment. I'm going to tell you with simple examples so that it will be more easy to understand. First of all, before starting about the listeners, you just understand the generalized meaning of what is meant by listening. Listening means just hearing, watching what the opponent guy is saying something. Okay. Similarly, these kind of listeners, what it will do. Okay, what kind of activity these will be performed while we are implementing in our projects or in our test cases or anything. What is the advantages? I'm going to tell you that. Listeners is an event. Listeners is an event which is defined in the Selenium script and which will behave accordingly. Okay, so the listener is an interface. Okay, the listeners is an interface actually. So the job of the listeners is to listen what is going on while you are working on the scripting. So while running the script, what kind of things are going on and how the script is behaving, and according to that script behavior, your listeners must be behave. Okay, so this is the kind of implementation which is available in the listeners concept. Okay, so this listeners is used in Selenium by implementing listeners interface. Yes, I said already, listeners is an interface which will listen the script behavior, what is happening, what's going on. Okay, so but by a final end purpose, I'm going to tell you that the purpose of listeners in Selenium here it is to generate the test reports. Okay, so without using this listeners also we can generate the test reports. But the thing it is, when we are implementing this listeners logic in our test reports and everything, your reports will be more effective. That's the reason these people are using about the listeners concept while preparing the test reports, especially in the Selenium part. Okay, so what is kind of a reports? What kind of reports we can generate in Selenium automation testing? Yes, guys, you are doing automation testing. After completion of your test case execution, let's say there are 10 test cases or 20 test cases or 100 test cases, whatever it is. After running the test case completion, it must be produced one report. It must be produced one test report. How many test cases are executed, how many are failure, how many are successfully passed, how many are skipped. Okay, so this kind of a detailed test report is required and expecting any automation tester in their job sector. Okay, so if it is clearly produce any test report, so it is very easy for us. Being an automation tester, it is easy for us to analyze why it is particularly failed and which test case got failure. If any test case got failure, immediately trigger the screenshot also. Understood? So if I require, so if I perform all these kinds of implementation in my test report, it is very effective for the automation tester also, for the high level management, for the customer, for the client also, it should be more effective. Understood? So that's the reason, while we are implementing test reports or while we are implementing log reports, these listeners concept will be more useful to make your output in a more effective manner. Okay, you people understood what's the meaning of reports. Now, what is the meaning of log? Log. Log is nothing but generally, guys, um, which will which will uh, create which will create one kind of an event actually. So what will be happen in this particular here, it is it will maintain all the transactions. It will maintain all the transactions here. Suppose suppose you went for any atm to withdraw something here. Okay, so when you make in some transaction history also, what will be happen, all the transaction is going to be completely mentioned in that. So any credit statement or any debit statement or any interest credits, whatever it is, everything is going to be transaction, right? That means whatever you are doing in the particular account, all things are going to be performed. That is a log actually. Similarly, while you are writing the program also, if you are implementing any logging related implementation, uh, it will generate some logs also. Okay, the same thing we can also implement in the test reports, report generations also. Understood? So reports will be more effective manner. Logs are somewhat a little bit less effective manner. Okay, so why? Because ui related content is more available in the test reports. So to generate the test reports in selenium, they will ask you what kind, how you have generated the test reports in selenium. First thing we can say that TestNG framework by default it is providing some reports. Okay, TestNG default reporting is there, and but that is not a more customized, that is not much effective. Okay na? But we have feature. Okay, but JUnit, even this feature is also not available, but TestNG is providing some option for us to generate the test report. But using this TestNG default reporting, if I implement some customizations like report ng or extent report kind of third party dependencies, if I add to my framework, what will be happen, I can generate my test reports in a more effective manner. If you compare TestNG default reporting, if you and extent report or TestNG reporting, report ng reporting, there will be lot of difference you can observe. Default reporting that doesn't have much more ui related activities, but here, when you are using report ng or extent reporting, when you in your framework implementation, your outputs, that means your reports will be more effective manner. Okay, so that is the advantage, right? So this is the purpose, guys, listeners' purpose in TestNG framework, and definitely they will ask you one interview question: do you have any knowledge on listeners? Yes. Next, what is meant by listener? What is meant by a listener? You have to say listener is an interface which will listen the script behavior when we are implementing in your selenium script. Okay, so basically these listeners will be useful when you are preparing your test reports. To make your test reports in a more customized manner, we can implement these listeners. The next immediate question you can expect from them: tell me the list of or few of the TestNG listeners you know. What are the, tell me, what are the different test engine listeners you know? So here I have written a few of the test engine listeners. You can answer like this: I annotation transformer, I annotation transformer to I configurable, I configuration listener, I execution listener, I hookable. Okay, I invoked method listener, I method interceptor, I reporter, I suit listener, I test listener. Like this, we have so many distinct listeners. But if you observe keenly, in every listener before there is a I they are mentioning. Okay, I is nothing but interface. I is nothing but interface here. Okay, so that I'm going to tell you that how it is going to be implement here. ITestListener has a different implementation. I'm going to tell you. But if you observe these 12 TestNG listeners, each listener is having in its own methods. Listen carefully. TestNG is having a different listeners. Every TestNG listener is having its own methods. Suppose if I am using I annotation transformer listener, this is having its own methods. While we are implementing this, it will generate its own methods. Similarly, if I am taking one more TestNG listener, which will have its own methods. Understand? So here I'm taking about I test listener. ITestListener interface I'm taking. Okay, so with this, what we can do, I'm going to tell you that. So the ITestListener, which is useful for the test case implementation. When you are working on test cases, this interface will be useful. When it is a suit, this will be implemented. Okay, when it is a reporting implementation purpose, this will be useful. But every listener is having its own purpose. For the driving purpose, they have created it. But here I'm going to explain about ITestListener, because when we are writing the test cases, this will be more useful to you. So that's the reason I'm going to cover this interface, ITestListener, in this scenario. I said already, every listener is having different methods inside of it. I'm taking ITestListener interface. When I'm taking this is also having its own methods. Okay, so that's the reason I have written here. ITestListener has the following methods. What is the methods itself? On start, on start. Similarly, one more method, on test success, on test failure, on test skipped, on test failed but within the success percentage, and finally on finish method. If you observe all these methods, you can easily understand the purpose of each and every method. Let's say, suppose on start. On start means when this particular method will be invoked. Invoked means triggered anamata. Okay, when you have written some test cases, you started execution. You started execution, or test case started execution. When the test case got started execution, then this on start method will be invoked. So this will listen what is going on. When the test case got started, this method will be invoked. Suppose if the test case got successfully executed, immediately on test success method will be triggered. This method will be triggered. If the test case got failed, immediately this on test failure method will be triggered. Okay, suppose you are running 10 test cases and there are 8 test cases got executed successfully, one test case got skipped, and one test case got failed. There are total 10 test cases. I have executed them. Out of 10, 8 are executed successfully. One test case got failed, one test case got skipped. So when any test case got skipped, this on test skipped method will be invoked. Okay, so when it is invoked, it will look for which test case got failed. That failure information will be captured using this on test failure implementation. Understand why? Because how it is performing, because the listeners is which will listen the script behavior. The script behavior, what is the script behavior? Whether it is starting or not, whether it is executed successfully or not, whether it is failed or not, and whether it is skipped or not, whether it is finished or not. These are all our script behaviors. Whether all these behaviors are properly performing or not, these can be watched by this listener implementation. Okay, right. On test failed but within the success percentage, because this will be useful when the test case got failed but very limited percentage success. Okay, but within the success percentage, because there is some criteria, according to that it will be called that. But it is very rare case we can use this. And very important one is on start, on test success, on test failure, on test skipped, and finally we have a on finish. On finish means when it is completed all the test case executions, then it will be called on finish. So all tests got executed successfully and completed. Understood? So these are the ITestListener methods which are. So once again, I am repeating, the TestNG concept is having a different listeners. Like I have written 12 listener types. I have written here. Each and every listener purpose is uniquely designed. And here we are using about ITestListener interface, because which will be more useful while writing our test cases. Test case is nothing but test scripts in automation part, right? So Why we require about here? To make your test case more effective while you are preparing the reports and everything. This is required here. Understood? So itest listener is having a different methods. So these are the different methods. You can expect 3 to 4 questions from this particular topic when you are preparing this particular scenarios. Understand? So this is the concept intro, guys. The purpose of listeners, what are those, and what are the different methods in every listener, I have explained. Now, how to implement it, I will tell you. If I want to implement listeners in your uh, coding, what things we need to do, I'm going to tell you. One thing you have to be very clear, guys, no setup is required. Why? Because already we have added TestNG framework to our Eclipse, so no additional setup is required. So that TestNG framework by default contains about all these features. Okay, so let's get let me close all these windows. So go for your test resource folder. Let's create one fresh package for you. And here I'm creating the package name as a listeners. Okay, listeners concept. Okay, so once it got created a package, now it is the time to create uh, the classes. Okay, so for that you select the package and let's create new and simple class you need to create. Okay, just carefully listen. A new simple Java class I'm creating here. Let's say give the name as I test listener implementation. Okay, every time the class name started with uppercase letters, so that I'm using I test listener implementation. Don't select any main method, just simple click on finish, so that one skeleton code will be generated here with your class name. Understood? Now what I'm going to tell you here, first of all, where you are going to apply the listeners, where you are going to apply on your test case, you are going to apply. So for that reason, what I'm going to do, first I have to create, I have to create all the methods in the itest listener, because I want to implement itest listener implementation for my script, because I'm preparing a test case. And if I want to implement this itest listener implementation in your test script, first you have to create the itest listener methods on start, on test success, on test failure, right? So these methods we need to create first of all. For that reason, I'm creating in normal Java class without any main method, because I'm not going to run this. This is a supporting file. Okay, this is a supporting file, and this will be useful for the implementation of listeners. We'll tell you how to do that. So for that, I created one normal Java class. See, after your class name, use one keyword like implements. Use control space, you will get the proposal. What is the suggestion you are getting, guys? Implements. When it is a implements, when it is a extends, already you learned about that. Extends means it is a keyword which will help you to extend the properties from one class to another class, which is related to inheritance concept. Understood? When it is coming to the implements, implements is a keyword, okay, and which will useful to specify what kind of implementation you want to do in the class. What kind of concept I want to implement? I test listener I want to implement. So that I'm using implements keyword, just select it. Now I test listener. Use control space, you will get that proposal. Okay, I'm typing only partial word only. I test L I have typed here. But when I'm using control space, I'm getting the list of proposals. I test NG listener, I test NG listener from okay, org.testng, I test listener factory. So out of these, which one I need to take? I need to take about the first one. I test listener is enough. So take the first one. Okay, control S. Control S to save this program. when we are doing this in the previous versions of the TestNG, the advantage here, when we are using ITestListener implementation, okay, when we are using ITestListener implementation, it will generate some error related declaration here. What is that error related declaration? When we are placing the mouse cursor here, it will show you one solution: declare unimplemented methods. Declare unimplemented methods. So when it is showing declare unimplemented methods, when you just click on that with your mouse, automatically it will produce all the methods in your program. Okay, that is the advantage actually, but here they have removed that feature. For that, what we need to do, we have to write the things, everything. Okay, I'm going to tell you that how to implement, how to create the methods and everything. So that's why I'm writing the method. You see how I'm writing. There it is. Yeah, let's create a methods manually. Public void. What is the first method, guys? On test start. Okay, so that I'm writing on test start. Okay, so normally you can type. Is there any spelling mistake? Yes. On test start. Okay. So this is your method name, and here I created the method. In this method, I want to supply one parameter, that is nothing but ITest result. I want to specify. Okay, ITest result. Use control space, you will get the proposal and everything, right? So that this is the method creation, and I created a method everything. Now it's showing some errors like here. What is that? It is here. Yes, ITest result interface we produced here. That reference also we need to produce, so that I'm using result. Yes, control S to save these changes. So this is the method, guys, on test start method. Like this, I need to create all the methods which are available in the ITestListener implementation. Okay, so first let me create all the methods. Then after we'll write a relevant logic, whatever I want to implement inside of it. Let's write about one more method here. Instead of that, I'm going to copy this to save the time and everything. What is the second method, guys? As per this, I'm creating. What is the second one? On test success. Let's go and create on test success. When the test case got successfully executed, this kind of method will be triggered. Let's on test failure, right? So one more thing I'm going to write here, on test failure. Only just the method names I'm just changing here. On test failure. After that, we have on test skipped also. On test skipped. Yes. After that, we'll have one more method, that is nothing but on test failed but within success percentage. If you want, you can implement, otherwise you can ignore that. One more feature is you need not to implement all these things, and whichever you are required, you can declare only those methods are enough. If any method is not required, you can ignore it. You can ignore it. It's not a problem. Understand? And next last one is on finish, so that I'm ignoring that on test success percentage. Let's use on test finish. Yes. Okay. It's like this we have implemented. But the thing it is, if you want to align the code properly, we'll give you one tip here. You see that some lines are in the middle alignment, some lines are in the left alignment. So programming logic is very important. At the same time, programming maintenance is also very important. For that, use Control Shift F. Okay, use Control Shift F. So it's a keyboard shortcut to make your program is a proper alignment. Now you see that all the lines are in a proper alignment. Control S to save the changes. Now what I'm going to do here in every method, I'm going to declare one simple output statement here. One simple output statement because I want to return that. So for that reason, let's use sysout, and here I want to implement what is your reference variable here, a result. So result dot get name method I want to use. Why I'm using get name method, I will tell you. Which test case you are executing. Suppose every test case is having some name, right? So login test case. So if it is a started execution, it will return on matter. So login test case execution started or something, whatever you want to return, that will be written in the console part. So that reason I'm writing result dot get name so that your test case name will be collected here. Now I want to write one more output statement here, like how I am writing, you see that method started or test case started. Anything you can implement like in this way. Understood? Yes. So control S to start it. So here it is a default output statement. How I am writing, accordingly it will print in the logic. But here result dot get name, the purpose is this will collect your test case. The test case name will be collected here. Similarly, I am implementing on test success. You see that. Let's use result method here. So result variable dot get name. Okay, result dot get name. Next, I want to implement plus method success. Okay. Suppose if the login method got successfully executed, login method success. Like this, it will return in the console area and also return in the reports also if you are implementing any reports implementation. Let's use about one more sysout statement and result dot get name. Same lines of statement I'm using here. Next, I want to implement when it is on test failure, right? So and so method got failed or failure, something. These are all our custom statements you can write. Let's write about sysout. Selenium related code I'm not going to write here. We'll tell you where it is. Just follow this. Result dot get name plus not here, here. Open one string method skipped. Okay, so these are your custom. You can write your own custom way also, but here I am writing as per that. Same way, result dot get name so that your test case name will be collected here. Let's use about one string here. Method finish. Okay. Like this. Like this you can implement. So this is the first part you need to do, guys. What I have done here, I am implementing ITestListener implementation. I am doing here by creating different methods and everything. Okay. Earlier we have a feature when we are writing this implements ITestListener, automatically it will show one error here. When you place the mouse cursor, it will show you that error as add unimplemented methods. When you click on that, automatically these methods will be added. But here I have written manually, but when you are selecting that option, they will be added automatically here. Got it or not? So this is the manual way, but there are different ways to create it also, very shortcut ways also available, but I'm not going to suggest you. Okay, when you are writing your own way, so definitely the skill, programming development skills will be more effective for you. So that's the reason I created manually while understanding the concept and everything, and related to the particular logic I have implemented here, because the test case name I want to collect, because I want to add the status and everything here. So this is the first step you need to do, guys. Now the next step, what you need to do, take one Selenium code or take your scenario where you want to implement listener, for that reason, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take one Selenium related concept which I have explained previously, that I'm going to take. What that I'm going to take will tell you that. I already explained about Orange HRMS login related test case, right? See, this is the Orange HRMS login test case which I have implemented. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this code, just take it, copy and paste it here. Okay, na? So to saving purpose, time saving purpose, I'm just using the existing programs and everything, because to save the time, you will understand here. Okay, I have implemented one ITestListener implementation logic, and another one is a Orange HRMS login test. This you already know that how to implement, because previous programs you already learnt about it. Now the final step, what we need to do, guys, we need to integrate these two. We need to integrate these two scenarios. One is Orange HRMS login test case, and another one is a ITestListener implementation. We'll tell you how to do that. Orange HRMS login test case contains about your Selenium related scripting. Okay, when I am run this script, it will normally executed internally and it will produce the output as per the execution. It will run generally, generic procedure. Now I want to implement listener concept on this test case. When I implement listener implementation on this test case, what I have to do? Definitely I have to implement ITestListener related declarations in this logic. For that, what I have done, a simple procedure, instead of disturbing this, just simple, I have taken one more a fresh class. Now I'm going to use this class implementation in this one here with the support of some XML support. With the support of XML support. That for that also I'm going to tell you one simple procedure to save the time and everything. First step is, guys, this ITestListener implementation, you have to create the methods. Second step, you need to create your test case. Here I'm taking Orange HRMS login test case. Now the last step is you have to implement XML concept to declare to integrate these two things, or to implement ITestListener implementation. How to do that, I'm going to tell you. Guys, for that, either you need to create a fresh XML file, or else you need to convert the existing TestNG test case into XML file. We'll tell you that. TestNG framework, we have a beautiful feature. We can convert the existing test case, okay, TestNG test case into TestNG XML file. See how I'm going to convert, I will tell you, because already I covered all these things. Now you see that Orange HRMS login test is your TestNG test case. Go and right click. We have an option TestNG. Use second option, convert to TestNG, so that it will convert into XML format. Understood? Now this is the location where you need to create your XML file, and this is the suite name and test name. If you want, you can change your names and everything, or else you can keep it as it is. But I want to change the location, because I want to store in this particular package. If I completely click on next and finish, it is going to create in the whole project. Okay, in the project wise, outside of your project it will be created. Um that for that purpose, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the browse option. Let's select Maven scenarios is your project. In the src, in the test resource folder, in the java, we have a listeners concept. So just select the folder and click ok. Okay, so here in this location your test case is going to be create. Now specify your XML file name here. What is the file name here? I want to implement like listeners XML, like that I created. Now simple click on next and finish. Now you see that it got created in the specific folder. Okay, now if I'm not specifying any path, if I'm using default path, it will be created in this location. See where it is pom.xml. These files are available, right? Beyond that means outside of your packages and folders it will be created. Got it? Yeah. So this is the implementation, guys. Now let's open this XML file. The last step, only one line of code we need to modify here. Just open that XML which we created or which we converted. See guys, here it is showing suit name. You can write it suit name or default we can use it. Test name, classes. What is the class name here? Class name is always a combination of your package name. What is your package name here? Listeners concept. And class name. What is your class name here? Orange HRMS login test. So this is created. Now what we need to do here, you see, after this test tag, here we need to implement listeners tag. We need to implement listeners tag. See that. Okay. Yeah. So why it is showing some error here? I hope this error we are getting because of that listeners tag we need to add after this suit name. Yes. Let me remove this. Will after the suit name I am adding. Now you see that. Yeah, I'm getting proposal also. Previously, when I'm trying to control space, I'm not getting any proposal, but I have written it. But now when I'm just moving from after a test to after a suit line, it is showing all the proposals. Okay, now you need to implement in this listeners. We need to implement one more tag called as listener tag. Okay, that we need to implement as a listener tag. So here when I'm using control space, it is getting automatically listener class name. Where your listener class name is available, it is also combination of your package name and the class name. What is your package name here? Listeners concept. Okay, so you have to very careful while declaring the class names and package names, because if any even one single character got changed here, that won't be executed. That won't be executed. For that reason, I'm just copying this because the same package name, right? So just paste it here. Dot, what is your class name here? ITestListener implementation, because this is related to listener code. Orange HRMS login test is related to your test case. On this test case, I want to implement ITestListener implementation. So that's the reason I'm integrating here itself. Okay, using this procedure. So how do you copy this file name? Just right click, refactor and rename. You can use, or F2 also we can use, but some people won't get an option. That's the reason I'm using this procedure. Just copy this and just paste it. Okay, Control S to save this program. That's it, completed. Okay, now I integrated two things are here: ITestListener implementation and also your test case. When I run this XML file, okay, when I run this XML file, your Orange HRMS login test will be executed, but it will be watched and it will be listened by ITestListener implementation code. Why? Because I have implemented the listener's logic inside of it. If Orange HRMS login test is successfully started, onTest method will be invoked and Orange HRMS login test is success. The method success. If it is a failed, Orange HRMS login test method is failed. How we have written the logic, accordingly it will written in the console area. Okay, Control S to save this. Don't run individual file. Don't run individual file. If I run ITestListener implementation, what will be? It will get nothing. You also won't be able to execute it because there is no runnables. And similarly, if I'm executing Orange HRM's login test, normally it will execute. Normally it will execute because there is no even one single line I did not implement in this code. Listeners related code I did not implement, so normally it will execute. There is no listeners, there is no listening activities, so I implemented them in the XML code. So you have to run this. How do you run? Either you can right click here or else you can right click here also. Any procedure you can follow guys. On the file name you can right click, or on the body also you can do this. run as what is that? TestNG suite, because XML is particularly defined for suite implementation. Now you see that how many classes I'm going to execute here. ITestListener implementation is one class. Orange HRMS login test is also another class. So when I am executing multiple classes, considered as a suite environment. This is one test case and this is another test case. So when you are running multiple test cases, it's considered as a test suite environment. Run as TestNG suite. Now you see, as per the script logic how we have implemented it is getting started. Let's see how it is going to be implemented. Chrome driver was started successfully. URL got inserted, waiting for page loading. Yes, login UR authentications got implemented. Yes, now you see the result, guys. You see the result. What is the first line it is showing? Login method started. Here, what is that login? Login is my method name. Where it is available? In the orange HRMS test case, it is available. You see that. In the orange HRMS test case, after executing at before test method, I have implemented a priority parameterization so that the login method got executed. What this method name will be collected by using result.getName in the listener implementation. Okay, so this name is getting and printing here login method started. Where I have declared this method started, this I declared in the here. This I declared here itself. So when I'm writing result.getName, the method name will be collected. This will be printed here. That's why login method started. Login method success. Like this, it will print. You see that login method successfully executed. After that, close browser method started. Finally, close browser method also success. You see that? Is there any failures? No, because your script got executed properly and also it generated some statements also, some logs also, right? So this will be useful when you are preparing your test reports. Okay, because in the test reports also we require this kind of implementation. Understood or not? So close browser is the one more method which I have implemented in the test case. Clear or not? Suppose suppose if I intentionally make any uh, wrong declaration, okay, any wrong declaration, whether the script will, whether this listener will properly listen or not, I'm going to tell you. You see that I'm just changing the priority order. I'm just changing the priority order. Control S to save it. I'm not changing the logic, just I'm changing the orders. When I'm changing the order, definitely the script will fail because dependencies are there. Now you see that if you execute this, before test method will be executed, so browser will be launched, URL will be supplied. Now it will go for close browser method. That means browser will be closed. Once it is got closed, is there any chance to enter into the login method? No. So that's the reason in this case how the script will executed. We'll see that and run it. Control F11 and just run it. Because I changed the order to make this test script intentionally fail. Let's see. Once it is got successful, what happened? It is performing login and everything. I hope the savings, whatever the changes, whatever the savings I modified, yes, saved here. Priority where I have modified. So orange HRMS login test. Just close this. The changes are not saved here. Let's say 2 and let's say 1. Control S to save the changes. Now right click, run as TestNG test suite. You know already the difference between quit method and close method. Okay, quit is for to close all the browser windows, close is for to close the current browser window. Now you see that, guys. Now you see that close browser method started. First of all, close browser method executed successfully because driver.quit method is there, browser got launched, URL got applied, immediately it got closed successfully. That method is executed. Next one, login method started. Login method started. But what is the status of the login method? Login method got failure. Why? Because already the browser got closed here. There is no application. So that it is going to create. Now, what the people will do, if any test case got failed, immediately their requirement is take a screenshot. When the test case got failed, okay, immediately their requirement is trigger a screenshot logic. When the screenshot logic got triggered here, it will capture the screenshot where it is failure and it will be pushed into your test reports so that at the next time when the successful execution completion of all your test cases, your automation tester can open the report, can see that okay, this test case got failed and this is the screenshot for that. Understand? So like that we can implement. Now we can more refine the script. When you refine the script, when you are implementing the logics and everything, automatically you can implement lot of scenarios in your test cases and everything. Got it? So this is a simple tip or technique to understand the listener's concept. Understood? Yes, accordingly we can implement, and this logic we can implement in our project implementation, but we have to follow as per the project framework. Okay, how they have implemented in that project in the companies. Accordingly, we need to modify the code and we need to use it. I'm sure once again I'm saying, guys, never expect all companies follow one same kind of structure. Eh, based on their requirement, based on their implementation techniques and everything, they will follow an approach. But you forgot about it. You forgot about it. Don't bother about it. For any kind of environment, the basics are mandatory. Correct? For any kind of environment, the implementation part is mandatory so that you people can easily adjust for that environment. But when you know the concept very well, so this is the listener implementation, guys. Tomorrow I'm going to start with project kind of environment. Okay, so overall project, the rest of the topics whatever we have, I'm going to cover in the project itself. Maximum hardly 3 to 4 classes I'm going to take to cover all these concepts and everything. Got it? So that's it for today's, guys.